The stars looked different from this far out. Captain Tae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon watching the unknown galaxy spread before him. After 3 years in deep space, the crew of the Horizon had gone farther than any humans before them. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Ju-won Park, the ship's science officer. His fingers moved quickly across the screen. "It's not a natural object. The shape is too perfect." Tai-ho walked to the science station. "Show me." The screen displayed a dark, curved object against the stars. It moved with purpose, not like an asteroid or comet. "It's a ship," Tai-ho said quietly. Humanity was not alone. "Should we run?" asked pilot Sangmin. His hands hovered over the controls, ready to turn the ship around. Tai-ho shook his head. "No, we came to explore. Let's make contact." The next hours were tense. The alien ship grew larger on their screens. It was black and red, shaped like a spike, built for speed and war. "They're sending a message," said Communications Officer Devin. "Our computer is trying to translate it." Words appeared on the main screen. "Unknown vessel. Identify yourself." Tai-ho cleared his throat. "This is Captain Tae-ho Kim of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We come in peace from the planet Earth." The reply came faster than expected. "Earth. No known planet in Coalition records. Prepare for inspection." Before they could respond, a bright light filled the bridge. When it faded, 3 tall figures stood before them. They had gray skin, 4 arms, and yellow eyes. Each wore black armor that seemed to drink in the light. The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am Commander Vex of the Noxdari Empire. You have entered Coalition space." The crew froze, but Tae-ho stood straight. "We did not know this space belonged to anyone. We are explorers." The aliens looked at each other. One of them stumbled slightly, then straightened up. Ju-won whispered to Tai-ho, "Captain, look at how they move. They seem uncomfortable." Tai-ho noticed it too. The aliens moved as if everything took great effort. Their breathing was heavy. Commander Vex spoke again. "Your gravity settings are unusual. Adjust them for comfort." "Our gravity is set to Earth, normal," Tai-ho explained. 1G. The aliens' yellow eyes widened. The smallest one spoke quickly in their language. Vex turned back to Tai-ho. "Your species evolved in this gravity." "Yes." "Is there a problem?" Vex studied the humans with new interest. "The Noxdari come from Morkath, a world with gravity 3 times this level. We are known as Deathworlders, the strongest beings in the Coalition. No other species has evolved in conditions as harsh as ours." He paused. "Until now, perhaps." Tai-ho offered the alien seats, which they accepted with relief. For the next hour, they exchanged information. The Galactic Coalition included 50 species from different worlds. The Noxdari ruled because their home world had made them the strongest. "We must report this to the Coalition Council," Vex finally said. "They will want to classify your world." "Classify?" asked Ju-won. "All planets are rated by difficulty. Most species come from worlds rated 1 to 3. The Noxdari homeworld is rated 9. No known species has evolved past that." The aliens used a device to scan the ship's database. As they read about Earth, their expressions changed. "This cannot be correct," Vex said. "High gravity, extreme temperature variations, deadly radiation levels, toxic oxygen atmosphere, aggressive microbes, natural disasters." "That's just Earth," said Engineer Jai-ho with a shrug. "We call it home." Vex looked troubled. "By our standards, your Earth would be rated Class 12. A true death world. No wonder your bodies can endure this gravity." As the aliens prepared to leave, Vex turned to Tai-ho one last time. "The Coalition will contact you soon. After 10,000 years, the Noxdari have found a species that might be our equals." His 4 hands formed a complex gesture. "Or perhaps our replacements. In a flash of light, the aliens vanished, leaving the crew of the Horizon to consider the new future that awaited humanity among the stars. 3 months after first contact, Earth joined the Galactic Coalition. The news that humans came from a Class 12 death world spread fast. Many alien species did not believe it was possible. Admiral Hyun-Ki Lee stood in the Great Hall on Planet Nexus, the Coalition's meeting place. As Earth's first representative, he wore a formal blue uniform with gold buttons. Around him, aliens of all shapes and sizes whispered and pointed. "They look so soft," said one jelly-like being to another. "Do not be fooled," replied a small furry creature. "I heard they can break bones with their bare hands." Hyun-Ki ignored the comments. He was used to them by now. The Coalition had 50 member species, but humans were still the strangest to them all. A loud horn sounded. The Noxderi Supreme Commander Krax entered the hall. He walked with heavy steps, his 4 arms moving in perfect balance. Unlike Commander Vex, Krax showed no signs of weakness in Earth's gravity. He had trained for this meeting. "Representatives of the Coalition," Krax's voice boomed. "Today we welcome Earth to our alliance." He turned to Hyun-Ki. "But joining is not enough. Each species must prove their worth." Hyun-Ki bowed slightly. "Earth is ready to contribute to the Coalition." Krax's yellow eyes narrowed. "Words are easy, human. Actions prove strength." He raised all 4 arms. "I challenge Earth to compete in the Deathworld Games." The hall erupted in noise. The Deathworld Games had not been held in 500 years. They tested the limits of survival in the harshest environments. "We accept," Hyun-Ki said without hesitation. Later, on the Earth Embassy ship, Hyun-Ki met with his team. "You accepted too quickly," said diplomat Yi Jin-han. "The games are dangerous. Many competitors have died." "We had no choice," Hyun-Ki replied. "Refusing would make Earth look weak." "But who will represent us?" asked strategist Du Young Choi. "We need someone with special skills." The door slid open. A woman walked in with confident steps. She was shorter than average, but moved like a dancer. "This is Lieutenant Hae-Yun Song," Hyun-Ki said, "former Olympic athlete and survival specialist." Hae-Yun bowed to the group. "I volunteer to represent Earth." Do Young looked worried. "The Noxderi competitor will be twice your size." Hae-Yun smiled. "Size isn't everything. Humans have advantages they don't expect." In the next weeks, Hae-Yun trained harder than ever before. She ran in heavy gravity chambers. She swam in icy water. She climbed in thin air. Every day, alien observers watched and took notes. Engineer Jai-Ho Kang built special equipment for her training. "The first event will test heat resistance," he explained. "The Noxderi evolved on a cold world. They struggle in high temperatures. While we evolved to run in the heat," Hae-Yun said, running on a treadmill in a room heated to 40 degrees Celsius. She wasn't even sweating much. One day, a small alien with blue skin visited their training facility. He had 6 legs and big eyes. "I am Zik of the Luvari," he said. "I will also compete in the games." Hae-Yun shook his hand gently. "Nice to meet you, Zik." "The other species are placing bets," Zik said. "Most think humans will fail in the first round." "What do you think?" asked Hae-Yun. Zik's big eyes blinked. "I think they underestimate you, as they once underestimated my people." Across the station, in the Noxderi quarters, Supreme Commander Krax watched recordings of Hae-Yun's training. His second-in-command looked concerned. "She is stronger than she appears," the second said. Krax nodded. "These humans are dangerous. They do not know fear. Should we cancel the games?" "No," Krax's voice was hard. "The games will show everyone the truth, that only the Noxderi deserve to rule." He turned off the screen. "Prepare our champion. The humans must be put in their place." As the day of the games approached, Hae-Yun felt ready. She looked out the window at the stars and thought of Earth. She would show the galaxy what humans could do. Military strategist Du Young Choi sat in the dim light of the Earth Embassy's research room. For the past week, he had read everything about the Nox Dairy that the Coalition database would share. His eyes were tired, but he couldn't stop. "Find anything useful?" Engineer Jai-Ho Kang asked as he brought in 2 cups of coffee. Du Young nodded. The Nox Dairy have conquered every world they found for the last 1,000 years. Before them, no species had won more than 3 Deathworld games in a row. He pointed to his screen. "They've won 15 times. Jai-Ho frowned. "So they're unbeatable." "No one is unbeatable," Du Young said. "Look at this." He showed a video of a Nox Dairy warrior fighting in a jungle setting. They're strong but slow in humid environments. Their homeworld is dry and cold. In another part of the station, He-Yun trained in a special chamber that Jai-Ho had built. It could change to copy any environment. Right now, it was set to extreme cold with high gravity. He-Yun lifted heavy weights while ice formed on her eyebrows. Her breath made white clouds in the air. The temperature was -30 degrees, but she kept working. Outside the chamber, 3 alien scientists watched her. "Impossible," one said. "No species should function in both extreme heat and cold." "Humans are adaptable," said Chief Medical Officer Min Ai-Yun, who monitored He-Yun's vital signs. "On Earth, some people live where it's 50 degrees hot, others where it's 40 degrees below freezing." The aliens whispered to each other in their language. Jai-Ho entered his workshop later that day to find it had been searched. Nothing was missing, but someone had looked at his designs for He-Yun's training equipment. He quickly called Admiral Hyun-Ki. "The Nox Dairy are worried," Hyun-Ki said after hearing about the break-in. "They wouldn't spy if they weren't." Jai-Ho got back to work. He was studying Nox Dairy technology, looking for weaknesses. Their ships were strong but used old power systems. Their weapons were powerful but heavy. "Their tech is like them," Jai-Ho told the team at dinner. "Strong but not flexible. They haven't needed to improve in centuries because no one challenged them." He-Yun ate twice as much as everyone else. Her training burned many calories. "I found something interesting about their champion," Du Young said. "His name is Gorth. He's never lost a fight, but he's never faced anyone from a higher-class planet than his own." "What about their culture?" He-Yun asked between bites. "To beat someone, you must understand how they think." Diplomat Yi Jin-Han spoke up. "The Nox Dairy value strength above all. But their idea of strength is limited. They only respect physical power and conquest. That's their weakness," He-Yun said. "Humans know that true strength comes in many forms." That night, in a secret lab on the other side of the station, Coalition scientists studied samples of human DNA. They had collected hair from He-Yun's brush and skin cells from her training equipment. "Look at these repair mechanisms," one scientist said in awe. "Their cells can fix radiation damage that would kill most species." "And their muscle density," another added. "No wonder they can move normally in high gravity." A third scientist looked nervous. "Should we tell the Council? If humans are this advanced biologically, the Nox Dairy wouldn't want this information shared," the first scientist said. "Let them find out during the games." Meanwhile, Supreme Commander Krax received reports about He-Yun's training progress. His yellow eyes narrowed as he read. "She trained for 6 hours in toxic atmosphere," his aide reported, "then switched to underwater pressure training with no rest." "What about weaknesses?" Krax demanded. "We haven't found any clear ones yet," the aide admitted. "Their bodies are surprisingly tough, and they seem to ignore pain that would stop our warriors." Krax slammed one of his 4 fists on the table. "Every species has weakness. Find it before the games begin." As the first day of competition approached, He-Yun felt ready. She had studied the Nox Dairy and the other competitors. She knew what to expect. What the aliens didn't know was that He-Yun was just an average human. On Earth, she wouldn't be considered extraordinary at all. And that was humanity's greatest secret weapon. The day of the Deathworld Games arrived. Planet Nexus shone like a jewel in space, its special arena built to hold any type of environment. Ships from 50 worlds filled the orbit around it. Hei-Yun stood in the preparation room, stretching her muscles. Around her, alien competitors prepared in different ways. Some wore special suits, others applied strange liquids to their skin. A few sat in silence, eyes closed. Zik, the six-legged Luvari, approached her. "Are you not afraid, human?" Hei-Yun smiled. "Being afraid doesn't help. Being ready does." The Noxdari champion Gorth stood across the room. He was 2.5 meters tall, with gray skin and muscles like rocks. His 4 arms could each lift more than a human could with their whole body. He stared at Hei-Yun, his yellow eyes cold. Admiral Hun-Ki and the Earth team entered. "The first challenge has been announced," Hun-Ki said. "High radiation zone." Jai-Ho handed Hei-Yun a small device. "This will measure the radiation. When it turns red, even humans should leave." "What about protective gear?" asked Minna, the medical officer. "Only basic protection is allowed," Hyun-Ki explained. "The Noxdari want to test natural resistance." Hei-Yun looked around. Other competitors were putting on thick suits with helmets. "What do I get?" Jai-Ho held up a thin jumpsuit and a small mask. "This blocks alpha radiation. The mask filters particles. The rest is up to you." A loud horn sounded. All competitors moved to the main arena. Thousands of aliens watched from the seats. Screens showed close-up views of each species champion. Supreme Commander Krax stood on a high platform. "Today we see who deserves to be called Deathworlders." His voice boomed through speakers. "The first trial tests radiation resistance. Last 5 standing advance." The arena floor changed. Rocks rose from below. The air turned foggy. Special lights created a purple glow. "Beginning radiation levels, Class 5, announced a computer voice, increasing by 1 class every 10 minutes. 15 competitors entered the zone. Hei-Yun walked calmly, watching her meter. The radiation was already high enough to make normal humans sick after a few hours. But Earth had places like this. Humans had lived near radiation for generations. After 20 minutes, the radiation reached Class 7. 3 competitors left the zone, unable to continue. Their skin showed burns, or they struggled to breathe. "The human shows no signs of distress," commented an announcer. "Neither does the Noxdari champion Gorth." At Class 8, 4 more competitors exited. Only 8 remained. Zik moved close to Hei-Yun. "Your species must have strong medicine for radiation," he said, his voice strained. "Some places on Earth have natural radiation," Hei-Yun explained. "Over time, our bodies adapted." Zik's eyes widened. "You evolved in radiation." The level increased to Class 9. Zik shuddered but stayed. 2 more competitors left. In the observation room, the Earth team watched the screens. "Her vital signs are still normal," Minna said in surprise. "The radiation isn't affecting her yet." "Humans produce more red blood cells when exposed to radiation," Du Young explained. "It's an adaptation from Earth's background radiation levels." At Class 10, the radiation was deadly to most species. Gorth showed the first signs of strain. His gray skin had dark patches. Another competitor collapsed and was quickly removed. 5 remained: Hei-Yun, Gorth, Zik, and 2 others. "Final level, Class 11, the computer announced. 1 competitor immediately left. Another fell to his knees, then was carried out. Only Hei-Yun, Gorth, and Zik remained. Zik's skin had changed color, but he refused to leave. Hei-Yun's meter flashed yellow caution. She felt warm, but not sick. Gorth suddenly turned to her. "This is impossible," he growled. "No species survives Class 11. Earth is Class 12. Hei-Yun replied simply. After 5 more minutes, Gorth's skin began to bleed. With a roar of anger, he stomped out of the zone. The crowd went silent. Only He-Yun and Zik remained. "You should leave," He-Yun told Zik. "This will damage you permanently." Zik nodded weakly and limped to the exit. He-Yun stood alone in the radiation zone. Her meter still showed yellow, not red. The silence broke as whispers spread through the arena. The dangerous primates from Earth. News of He-Yun's victory in the radiation challenge spread quickly through the coalition. In the competitors' rest area, other species now kept their distance from her. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. Only Zik approached her table in the dining hall. "May I join you?" the six-legged alien asked. He-Yun smiled. "Please do." Zik sat down, his blue skin still darker than normal from the radiation. "You could have won sooner," he said. "Why did you stay when Gorth left?" "I wasn't there to beat Gorth," He-Yun replied. "I was there to show what humans can do." Zik's large eyes blinked slowly. "The Noxdari are not used to losing. They will make the next challenge harder." In the medical center, Chief Medical Officer Minai Yoon treated injured competitors. Many suffered radiation burns or breathing problems. She worked quickly, using both coalition medicine and human treatments. A tall, plant-like alien watched her work. "Your methods are different," she said. Her name was Thula, from a world with thick forests. Earth medicine developed to treat many types of injuries. Minat explained as she applied a special cream to a burn. "We share what we know." "The Noxdari never share," Thula replied quietly. Word spread about the helpful human doctor. Soon, competitors from many worlds came to Minat instead of the official medical team. Each one left with not just treatment, but a better understanding of humans. Meanwhile, the Earth team prepared for the next challenge. Admiral Hyun K. Lee studied the announcement. "Toxic atmosphere," he read. "Competitors must navigate a course while breathing air filled with different poisons." "Perfect for He-Yun," said Jai-Ho. "Humans breathe polluted air all the time." Do-Yum looked concerned. "It's too perfect. The Noxdari must have something planned." That night, pilot Sang-Min checked He-Yun's breathing equipment. He found a tiny hole in the main tube. Someone had damaged it. "Sabotage," Sang-Min told the team. If He-Yun had used this, she would have breathed pure toxins. Admiral Tunki's face hardened. "The Noxdari are breaking their own rules." "What do we do?" asked Jai-Ho. "If we complain, they'll just deny it. We fix it and say nothing," He-Yun decided. "But we watch everything twice as carefully now." The next morning, He-Yun prepared for the Toxic Atmosphere Challenge. 20 competitors remained. Only 10 would advance to the next round. As they waited to start, Zik moved next to her. "Be careful," he whispered. "The air will contain NOx gas. It targets the brain." "How do you know this?" He-Yun asked. "My people were ruled by the Noxdari for centuries," Zik explained. "We know their tricks." He-Yun nodded her thanks. When the challenge began, she adjusted her mask to filter more carefully. The course was a maze filled with colored gases. Some burned the skin. Others made eyes water. The worst ones attacked the nervous system. He-Yun moved steadily, her Earth-trained lungs working hard. Ahead, she saw a competitor collapse, overcome by the toxic mix. Without hesitation, she picked up the fallen alien and carried them to the exit. In the viewing area, the crowd murmured in surprise. "The human is helping others," one asked. "Why would she do that?" Gorth watched with narrowed eyes. He had finished the course first, but no one was talking about his victory now. In another part of the station, diplomat Yi Jin-Han met with representatives from 12 coalition species. None were from Deathworlds. "The Noxdari have ruled through fear for too long," said a small bird-like alien. "They call us weak because our worlds are gentle." "Strength comes in many forms," Yi Jin replied. "On Earth, we learned that cooperation often achieves more than competition." "What are you suggesting?" asked a water-dwelling delegate. "An alliance," Yi Jin said. Not against the Noxdari, but for a more equal coalition, where all voices matter, not just the strongest. By the end of the day, 10 competitors had advanced to the next round. He-Yun qualified easily, despite spending time helping others. Zik also made it through. Supreme Commander Krax watched the replay of He-Yun carrying another competitor. "These humans are strange," he said to his advisors. "They show mercy when they should show power." "Perhaps that is why they are dangerous," one advisor replied. "They make allies where we make enemies." Krax's 4 fists clenched. The next challenge will show their true weakness. No species masters all environments. But for the first time in his long life, Krax felt uncertain. Humans were not just physically strong. They were something he had never faced before. They were unpredictable. The final stage of the games will begin tomorrow. Admiral Hyun-Ki told the Earth team. The endurance phase. He-Yun sat with her teammates, eating a large meal to prepare. She had passed 4 challenges already. Only she, Gorth, Zik, and 2 others remained in the competition. "What is the endurance phase?" He-Yun asked. "Survival on a simulated Class 10 death world," Du-Young explained. For 5 days, Jai-Ho showed them images on a screen. High gravity, extreme temperatures, toxic plants, dangerous animals, and little food or water. "Sounds like camping in Australia," He-Yun joked. The team laughed, but their eyes showed worry. Minna checked He-Yun's health one last time. "Your body is strong, but 5 days is a long time without rest." Supreme Commander Krax addressed the crowd. "This challenge tests true survival skills. No special equipment allowed. Only basic clothes, a knife, and a water container." Gorth looked confident. The Noxdari had always won this challenge. The other 2 aliens, a rock-like being and a tall insect creature, seemed nervous. The horn sounded. The 5 entered the dome. Immediately, He-Yun felt the higher gravity pulling at her. It was like carrying a heavy backpack. The air smelled of sulfur. The ground was rough and sharp. "We should work together," Zik suggested to He-Yun. She nodded. "Let's find water first." Gorth went his own way, moving quickly despite the gravity. The other 2 competitors did the same. Outside the dome, thousands watched on screens. Every competitor had a small camera attached to their clothes. "Look how easily the human moves," someone said. "The gravity doesn't seem to bother her much." "The Luveri is struggling more," another pointed out. "But they're smart to team up." By nightfall, He-Yun and Zik had found a small water source and built a simple shelter. The temperature had dropped from very hot to freezing cold in just 1 hour. "How do you handle such changes?" Zik asked, shivering. "Earth has many places like this," He-Yun explained as she built a small fire. "Deserts can be burning hot in the day and freezing at night." On the 2nd day, the insect creature left the dome, unable to continue. The rock being was still moving, but slowly. Gorth had made an impressive shelter and caught some of the small animals for food. He looked directly at a camera. "This is what a true Deathworlder can do," he said. On the 3rd day, a storm hit the dome. Acid rain fell from dark clouds. He-Yun pulled Zik into their shelter, which she had built to handle such weather. "The rain burns," Zik said, showing a mark on his blue skin. "Let me help." He-Yun used leaves from a plant she had tested to treat the burn. These have healing properties. The rock being left during the storm, its outer shell damaged by the acid. Only 3 remained: He-Yun, Zik, and Gorth. On the 4th day, Zik became sick. He had eaten something that humans could digest but was poison to his species. "You should leave," He-Yun told him. "Your health is more important than this contest." "If I leave, you'll be alone against Gorth," Zik said weakly. "I'll be fine," He-Yun promised. "Your people need you." After Zik left, He-Yun continued to survive. She found food, stayed warm, and even explored the dome. The gravity that had once seemed heavy now felt almost normal. In the viewing area, the Earth team watched proudly. "She's not just surviving," said Jai-Ho. "She's thriving." Admiral Hun-Ki nodded. "That's what humans do best." On the fifth and final day, as He-Yun collected water, Gorth appeared. His gray skin was scratched, but he stood tall and strong. "You surprise me, human," he said. "No one has matched me before." "The challenge isn't over yet," He-Yun replied calmly. Gorth's yellow eyes narrowed. "There is only one true way to prove strength." He stepped closer. "Combat." "That's not part of the challenge," He-Yun said. "I don't care about the challenge anymore," Gorth growled. "I care about honor. The Noxdari cannot be second to anyone." Before He-Yun could respond, Krax's voice boomed through the dome. "Attention. The endurance phase is complete. Both remaining competitors have passed." Gorth looked up angrily. "No, there must be one winner." Krax continued, "Gorth, return immediately." With a final glare at He-Yun, Gorth stomped away. That evening, as He-Yun rested after leaving the dome, Supreme Commander Krax made an unexpected announcement. "To truly test the human champion, I challenge her to mortal, single combat with me." The Coalition Council erupted in shock. Morthal was an ancient Noxdari tradition, rarely used and extremely dangerous. Admiral Hun-Ki immediately called an emergency meeting. "This is not about the games anymore," he told the team. "This is about the future of humanity in the Coalition." The Earth team gathered in their quarters to discuss Krax's challenge. Admiral Hun-Ki paced back and forth, his face serious. "We could refuse," suggested diplomat Yi-Jin. "The Coalition rules don't require us to accept. If we refuse, the Noxdari will say humans are weak," Du-Yum pointed out. "We lose either way." He-Yun sat quietly, thinking. "What exactly is mortal?" she finally asked. "Ancient Noxdari combat," Du-Yum explained. "No weapons, but all four of their arms are allowed. Many challengers have died." "And Krax is their supreme commander," Jai-Ho added, "the strongest of their species." While they debated, researcher Yun-Ho Shin burst into the room. She hadn't slept in days, her eyes wide with excitement. "I found something," she announced, holding up a datapad. "I've been studying Coalition records that weren't in the main database." The team gathered around her. "The Noxdari aren't challenging us because they think we're weak," Yun-Ho explained. "They're challenging us because they're afraid." "Afraid? Of us?" Jai-Ho asked in surprise. Yun-Ho nodded. "Throughout their history, whenever a new species showed unusual strength, the Noxdari eliminated them. They've been the dominant power for so long because they remove any potential rivals." He-Yun frowned. "So this challenge isn't about honor. It's about putting humans in our place, or eliminating us as a threat," Admiral Hun-Ki said darkly. Meanwhile, on the Noxdari command ship, Krax reviewed battle plans with his generals. "If the human accepts the challenge, I will defeat her," Krax said. "If she refuses, we prove humans are cowards." "And if she somehow wins?" asked one general. Krax's yellow eyes narrowed. "That will not happen. But if it did..." He pointed to a screen showing a large fleet of ships. "We are prepared." Back on Earth's ship, Captain Tae-Ho Kim received an urgent message. He had been analyzing strange readings from the edge of Coalition space. "Admiral, you need to see this," Tae-Ho said as he entered the meeting room. He showed them images of an unusual structure floating in deep space. "What is it?" asked Admiral Hun-Ki. "It's ancient technology," Tae-Ho explained, "and the energy signature matches Earth." The team stared in shock. "Are you saying this is human technology?" Minna asked. Tae-Ho shook his head. "Not human-made. But whatever built this also visited Earth thousands of years ago." "How do you know?" Jai-Ho asked. "These symbols," Tae-Ho pointed to markings on the structure. "They match carvings found in ancient ruins on every continent of Earth. And the database says this structure is a weapon. A weapon for what? Asked Heiyun. To make planets more dangerous, Tahoe said quietly. To turn normal worlds into death worlds. Silence filled the room as they understood what this meant. Earth wasn't naturally a Class 12 death world. Yanho whispered. Someone made it that way. But why? Minna asked. To create stronger species, Du Young suggested. To create us. While the Earth team processed this information, Coalition scientists reported their findings about human DNA to Supreme Commander Krax. Humans have genetic markers we've never seen before, one scientist explained. Their adaptability is not natural evolution. Something engineered their ancestors. The same something that created the Noxdari. Krax asked. No. Our studies show the Noxdari were engineered for immediate strength. Humans were engineered for long-term survival and adaptation. Their design is superior. Krax dismissed the scientist, then made a private call to his fleet. Prepare for possible conflict. If humans learn what they truly are, they may become a threat to us all. On Earth's ship, Heiyun made her decision. I will accept the challenge, she told the team. Not because Krax wants it, but because we need time. Time for what? Asked Admiral Kunki. To understand who we really are, Heiyun replied. And to prepare Earth if the Noxdari are planning something beyond this challenge. As Heiyun trained for the coming duel, Zik visited her. My people wish to stand with humans, he said. Others do too. The Noxdari rule through fear, but you have shown another way. This may become more than a competition, Heiyun warned him. It already has, Zik replied. The coalition is choosing sides, some with the Noxdari, many with Earth. As the day of the duel approached, both humans and Noxdari prepared for outcomes beyond a simple contest. Whatever happened in the arena would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. And unknown to either side, something ancient was waking up at the edge of coalition space. The day of the Morthal arrived. The great arena on Nexus was filled with beings from every coalition world. The air buzzed with tension and excitement. Heiyun stood in the preparation room, breathing slowly and steadily. She wore simple clothes, black pants, and a fitted gray top. No armor was allowed in Morthal. Remember what we discussed, Du Young said as he helped her warm up. Krax relies on power, not speed. His lower right arm always moves first when he attacks. Heiyun nodded, and his balance shifts when he uses all four arms at once. Admiral Hyunki entered the room. Our ships are ready if anything goes wrong, he said quietly. Captain Tahoe has positioned them around Nexus. It won't come to that, Heiyun said. This ends in the arena. Across the station, Supreme Commander Krax prepared as well. His gray skin was oiled for the battle. His four massive arms flexed with power. The human cannot match your strength, his second-in-command said. But be careful. She is quick. I have fought in 300 duels, Krax replied. No one has ever defeated me. The call came for both champions to enter the arena. Heiyun walked down the long corridor, her steps light but firm. At the other end, Krax marched forward, his heavy footsteps echoing. They met in the center of the circular fighting space. Krax towered over Heiyun, nearly twice her height and 3 times her weight. The Coalition Council head, a tall blue alien, spoke to the crowd. This Morthal will determine the standing of humans in our alliance. The ancient rules apply. No weapons, no outside help, no surrender. No surrender. Minna whispered from the Earth section. That means fight to the death. Jaiho nodded grimly. That's why the Noxdari rarely lose. The signal was given. The duel began. Krax moved immediately, all 4 arms reaching for Heiyun. But she was already gone, sliding to the side with a speed that surprised the crowd. Krax turned, slower than Heiyun, but his reach was enormous. The human must stay away from those arms, someone in the crowd said. 1 hit would break bones. He-Yun circled Krax, testing his movements. When his lower right arm shot out, she was ready. She ducked under it and struck his side with a quick punch before dancing away. Krax barely seemed to notice the hit. "Is that all the strength of Earth?" he mocked. "I'm just getting started," He-Yun replied. For 10 minutes, they moved around the arena. He-Yun landed many small hits while avoiding Krax's powerful swings. The crowd watched in amazement as the human speed kept her safe from the Noxteri's strength. "She's tiring him out," Six said from his seat. "Humans have incredible endurance." Indeed, Krax was breathing harder now. His attacks were becoming more wild. He-Yun remained calm, her movements precise. In the Earth section, Engineer Jeho suddenly looked at his datapad. "Something's happening," he said to Admiral Hyun-Ki. "The space station's systems are showing strange energy readings." Before Hyun-Ki could respond, He-Yun made her move. As Krax swung all 4 arms in a powerful attack, she slid beneath him and struck the back of his knees, his weak point. Krax stumbled but didn't fall. "Impressive," Krax admitted, but not enough. He caught He-Yun with one arm as she tried to move away. His grip was like iron. He lifted her off the ground, squeezing hard. "This is the difference between us," Krax said. "Raw power always wins." He-Yun struggled, her face showing pain. But then she did something unexpected. Instead of pulling away, she pushed toward Krax, slamming her head into his face. Surprised, Krax loosened his grip. He-Yun dropped to the ground and rolled away, gasping for breath. The crowd roared. No one had ever escaped Krax's grip before. As both fighters prepared to continue, a loud alarm sounded throughout the station. The lights flickered and went dark. Then emergency lights came on, bathing everything in red. "Alert! Unknown vessels approaching. All security personnel to defensive positions," the station's computer announced. On the main screens that had been showing the fight, new images appeared. Strange black ships with glowing purple lines moved toward Nexus. "The Void Collective," someone in the crowd shouted in fear. "They found us." Krax stared at the screens, then back at He-Yun. "Their duel forgotten," he spoke with urgent honesty. "These are enemies to all organic life. They destroy every world they find." An explosion rocked the station. The Void Collective had begun their attack. The duel would have to wait. A much greater threat had arrived. Chaos filled the great arena. Aliens ran in all directions as more explosions shook the station. The Void Collective ships surrounded Nexus, firing strange purple beams that cut through the station's shields. He-Yun and Krax stood in the center of the empty fighting space, former enemies now facing a common threat. "What do you know about these attackers?" He-Yun asked quickly. "The Void Collective is artificial intelligence gone wrong," Krax explained. "They believe organic life is inefficient and must be replaced." Another explosion, closer this time. The ceiling cracked, dropping metal pieces around them. "We need to get to the command center," Krax said. Without waiting for an answer, he ran toward the exit. He-Yun followed. In the main hallway, they found Admiral Hyun-Ki and the Earth team rushing toward them. "Our ships are engaging the enemy," Hyun-Ki reported, "but there are too many of them." "The Coalition Defense Fleet is not responding properly," Krax growled. "Their commands are confused." Tai-Ho looked at his datapad. "The Void Collective is hacking their systems. The Coalition relies too much on connected technology." "Human ships are different?" Krax asked. Tai-Ho nodded. "We learned from Earth's history. Our systems can run manually if needed." They reached the command center. Screens showed the battle in space. Black ships moved with perfect coordination, while Coalition vessels fired at random, many hitting their allies. "This is Supreme Commander Krax," Krax announced over the communication system. "All Noxteri ships switch to manual control. Ignore Central Command." Admiral Hyun-Ki stepped forward. "This is Admiral Lee of Earth. All human vessels, implement isolation protocol, and form defensive pattern around the station. The Earth ships immediately changed formation, creating a protective ring around Nexus. The Noxteri ships, after some confusion, began to organize themselves as well. "They're working together," Zik said as he joined them in the command center. "I never thought I would see this day." Do Young studied the enemy ships. "Their pattern is too perfect. They must share a single mind." "Then we need to be unpredictable," Heian suggested. Krax looked at her with new respect. "The Noxteri have ancient battle tactics that are not in any computer system. And humans are naturally unpredictable," Hyun-Ki added. "Our captains are trained to think independently." Together, they created a new plan. Earth ships would protect the station, while Noxteri vessels would attack the enemy in small, random groups. As they worked, more coalition species joined them. The Luveri offered their fastest ships. The plant-like Thula provided medical support. Even the smallest races found ways to help. "This is what the coalition should be," Yi Jin said as she coordinated communications, each species contributing what they do best. For hours, the battle raged. The Void Collective's perfect formation began to break under the unpredictable attacks. When they adapted to one strategy, the defenders would switch to another. "It's working," Ji-Ho shouted as another enemy ship exploded. Suddenly, the main Void Collective ship targeted the command center directly. A purple beam cut through the defenses, heading straight for them. Krax pushed Heian aside and took the full force of the blast. He fell to the ground, two of his arms badly damaged. Heian knelt beside him. "Why did you do that?" "Because we need you more than me," Krax said through pain. "The Noxteri were engineered to be perfect warriors, but we cannot adapt. Humans evolved naturally. You are what the galaxy needs now." With Krax injured, Heian took command of both human and Noxteri forces. For the first time, the two most powerful species in the coalition fought as one. By the time the battle ended, half the station was damaged. But the Void Collective had been driven away. In the days that followed, the Coalition Council met to discuss the future. Krax, his arms healing slowly, stood beside Admiral Hyun-Ki. "The old coalition must change," Krax announced. "From this day forward, all species have equal voice, and the protection of our worlds will be led jointly by the Noxteri and humans." 1 month later, Captain Tae-Ho Kim stood on the bridge of a new ship. Beside him was a Noxteri commander named Vex, the same one he had first met in space. "Are you ready for this mission, Captain?" Vex asked. Tae-Ho nodded. "Finding other Deathworld species to join our alliance is important. The Void Collective will return." "And we will be ready," Vex replied. Together, the ship, named Unity *, moved away from Nexus. Its crew was mixed: humans, Noxteri, and members of 10 other species, all working together, learning from each other. The universe was vast and dangerous. But with Deathworlders united, the future looked brighter than ever before.